Life comes at you fast, and it can hit you in the mouth, and it's weird, and it's been a strange 7, 8, 9, 10 days, or whatever it is for me. Let's talk about it. Hi, hello, and welcome in to the Ball Don't Lie podcast, episode number 157. My name is Austin Elmore. I am your host. If you're new here, this is my little passion project. This is my podcast specifically about the Cincinnati Bengals. I said specifically, or did I mix the two? That's the kind of content you're going to get specifically about the Cincinnati Bengals. I love the Bengals. I love football. I love talking about football. So I do a podcast where I just do that. It's been a strange week or so because last time we talked, Joe Flacco had just been traded to the Bengals. And while that was a huge story and I wanted to talk about it, it was not the story at the top of my mind. I knew there was something else that everyone else was eventually going to find out, but I wasn't able to talk about yet. And it's obviously been out there now. I've talked about it on the air. I've talked about it to a lot of people, my closest friends, and that is that my co-host on Cincy 360, my friend, my pal, my buddy, Tony Pike, was laid off by iHeart Media. That came as a shock to me. It came as a shock to a lot of people, and as you can see by the response across social media, it came as a shock to just about everyone. And it's a decision that even now I'm having a hard time understanding. But I'm still in a situation in which I have to produce the show and host the show and all that every day. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But I just wanted to say for my audience here that maybe didn't hear what I had to say on the air or whatever, I just want to kind of give my side of things and like what happened and my perspective of it. So last week, Tony calls me in the morning, which is not abnormal. It doesn't happen often. It's rare that he calls me in the morning, but he called me. And I answered it, and there was just this immediate, weight on the other end of the phone. His voice was heavy. He was struggling with this news because he had just been told while he's dropping his kids off to school that he wasn't coming to work that day and that iHeart had let him go. And there's no explanation. It's just the iHeart layoffs. They do that a lot. It's not uncommon for it to happen in October. And I've been lucky enough to be with that company now for 7 years, and I've been able to avoid it, mainly because I don't know that I make enough money for them to notice me. And to be completely honest, I think I have just this weird role that works really well. But either way, there were hundreds of people across the iHeart company that were laid off. There were 2 other people in our Cincinnati market that were laid off as well. And I was shocked, couldn't believe it, and still don't believe it and don't understand it. And my first thought obviously was, holy cow, this sucks. Like, Tony he is the show. It is his show. And he had done such a great job, I think specifically over the last year or two in getting better and finding his voice and continuing to grow. And I was just devastated for him because he's had a lot going on, man. Like, his life is not easy. And I just know like how things have gone for him. And he's got 3 little kids at home and his wife. And then I know his sister and all the stuff that they're dealing with little Roman. We did a big fundraiser, and Tony did a big fundraiser for him a couple of weeks ago. Like, I just know there's been a lot on the plate, and it's football season, which is the busy season as well. And then for all that to happen, it's tough, man. And I've had these bouts where I am really emotional, and I cry about it, and I'm sad. And I've had these other moments where, being a human being, I am excited about the opportunity that was in front of me. But the thing is, I didn't know what the opportunity was or if there was an opportunity in front of me. Right after this happened, I have to host the show the day that Tony gets laid off without anybody knowing. And then the following day, talk about it on the air and host the show. And then I'm leaving to go to Green Bay for 5 days. And I don't know and wasn't communicated with exactly what the plan was going to be moving forward. And I do give my bosses a lot of credit. They didn't bother me. They let me go. They knew I was looking forward to the trip to Green Bay. They knew that I was probably needing to get away and that I had that on the books for a long time. And to their credit, even though it probably would have warranted a phone call or a text or an email, they let me breathe and they let the dust settle a little bit on everything. And I'm thankful for that because I needed to get away and I needed to think about it and my future and all of this. And truth be told, I've been thinking a lot about my future. I just don't know. Like, there's so much because I always, like, you never know if it's going to be you, if you're going to be the one who gets that phone call in the morning. And such is life. Like, there's been frustrations for me with a lot of different things. And so it's just overall, this year has been a really weird year for me professionally. And then it was capped off with that, which makes me think, do I even have a future here at all? And you know, I think that's common for people to ponder and wonder what exactly is next if this goes away. And so I get back from Green Bay, and we'll talk about Green Bay in a minute, and have a meeting with my boss, and they basically tell me, hey, at least for now, the show is yours. Now, how long is it going to last? I have no idea. No clue. But I'm going to do my best and have always been trying to be ready for whatever opportunity might lie in front of me. And while I hate that it comes at the expense of Tony, and I'm not happy about that or proud of that at all, I do acknowledge that this is an opportunity for me to achieve a lifelong dream and to have my own spin and my own control over something that I've also worked really hard on. And so I don't do that and say that and feel that out of this like, oh, I'm breaking free of this freedom of Tony. That's not it at all. It's that, okay, now this is mine and I don't have anyone basically to bounce ideas off of. Like, I don't even have a producer right now. I produce the show. I host the show. I do everything at the moment. And that creates its own challenges. And I've always had ideas for the show, and some of them I've talked to Tony about, and some of them I haven't. And we'll see what happens over the next couple of months. And if there is a show in 6 months or 10 months or 3 months, I don't know. I have no idea what it's going to look like. So that being said, my current role off of this podcast, I'm the host of Cincy 360. And because of that, my habits and my time that I can devote to this are going to have to change a little bit. I really wanted to come into this football season and do 2 episodes a week. But with this on my plate as well, I don't know that that's going to be possible. I don't know that it would be fair for me to do that to this show. I don't think it would be fair to me for me to do that to my other show. So because of that, we'll probably try to do 1 episode a week. Honestly, I don't know when it's going to be. Ideally, it would be Wednesdays, which has always kind of been my goal. Hopefully, we get into a bit of a routine and we can make that happen, but you never really know, and things are always hectic. So, Ball Don't Lie is not going anywhere. I previously put this podcast on hold when I got started on Cincy 360 and was made full-time because I wanted to focus and pour everything into that. And now, I felt like I got into a groove, and I like the numbers that I'm seeing from Ball Don't Lie, and I like doing it, and I still have plans for this that I'm trying to figure out and trying to get better at. And so I don't want to pull the plug on this again, especially after I just reintroduced it at the beginning of this year, and I'm happy with it and want to continue to grow it. So this podcast isn't going anywhere. I'm not backing off of that. However, everything changes when I'm now by myself and I don't have a support system really to bounce ideas and carry some of the load for me. So as of now, I'm the host of Cincy 360. I'm still the host of the Ball Don't Lie podcast, and I'm going to try to figure it out. So if you're a listener to Cincy 360 and you're listening to this, I kind of talked about my philosophy on the air the other day and my plan. And one thing I left out is an ask for you to be patient with me because I am on my own and I feel on my own and I'm going to make some mistakes. I'm going to try to learn from them. I'm going to try to make the most of it. I'm going to try to find my voice. I'm going to try to settle into a rhythm, but also I'm going to screw up, and I ask that you be patient with me. And I don't want to take the audience for granted. I want to be the best that I can be. The style of a single-person show is much, much different than it is a two-person show. And unfortunately, what I think was so great about Cincinnati was that two-person element. Or about Cincy 360 was that two-person element. And I think that was Tony and I in our best versions of ourselves. And so it sucks that that's no longer the case. Tony and I are still friends. At least I think he's my friend. I think he would say the same. I've still talked to him and will continue to talk to him and communicate with him. You don't just work with somebody every day for that long and then never talk to him again. At least that's not how I operate and not how I treat people. And I don't know what Tony's plans are. He hasn't shared that with me. I don't know if he knows, but he will be fine because he's talented and he's smart and he knows a lot of really smart people. And he's good at this. And so he will be just fine. Now, if that's with a competitor and all that, I have no idea. No clue. But I'm excited to see what happens to him. I owe him a lot. I said that on the air. And yeah, so that's kind of like what happened. And there's no explanation for it. There's no excuse for it. There's no like anything other than it's just shitty. Like it's a shitty thing that happened to a good person and to a good show, and it sucks. And I wish there was a better explanation or something that made sense, but from now until the end of time, it's not going to make sense, but it happened. And so I get this news, and it's right before I'm about to go on the most anticipated trip maybe that I've ever been on. So ever since, the NFL schedule is easy to predict. It's the same thing every 8 years, every 4 years, every 2 years. You know how it is. And so I knew the Bengals would be playing at Lambeau Field in Green Bay this season. And so for the last couple of years, I've saved up money and I've used credit card points and cash back bonuses and all this stuff to plan and pay for a trip to Lambeau Field to go see the Green Bay Packers play the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, ultimately, it was less about the Bengals and more about the experience of Green Bay and specifically Lambeau Field that I was most excited for. So unfortunately, this highly anticipated trip came at maybe the worst possible time, but maybe also the best possible time. And I want to talk about the trip because I had a blast. I got there up to Appleton, Wisconsin, which is where I stayed. I got there on Thursday night, flew through Chicago, and then up to Appleton. Appleton's about half an hour south of Green Bay. And started off great, like flight arrived ahead of time, travel was wonderful, plane was comfortable. I get to the rent-a-car desk, they're like, hey, we got a free upgrade for you. I said, let's do it. They gave me this murdered out 2025 Honda Civic that had like 8,000 miles on it. It was sick, and everything went smoothly, and I was way ahead of time. Like I arrived early, and I think I got in my rental car 42 minutes ahead of when I was supposed to pick it up. Which, if you're traveling and you're checking a bag and all that stuff like I was, that's pretty impressive. So get to Green Bay, check into the hotel, stayed at a Home 2 Suites. It was awesome. It was beautiful. And my whole plan for the first night was just chill, find somewhere to watch Thursday Night Football, and see what happens. So I went to this place called the Milwaukee Burger Company, which was nearby the hotel. Got some amazing cheese curds. I mean, they were ridiculously good cheese curds. I had a lot of cheese curds, and I had a lot of Spotted Cow on tap, which is it's from New Glarus Brewing Company. It's a beer up there in Wisconsin, and it was terrific. Now, I've never loved it out of the bottle. Like, it's a good beer, and I like it. Out of the bottle, I've never been a huge fan. But on tap, draft, it's hard to beat. I mean, it was seriously spectacular. Couple that with some cheese curds, it was awesome. So Friday rolls around, and I really don't have that much of a plan. I just kind of want to explore. I want to check out Appleton. I want to check out Green Bay. So I do that. I checked out various locations and places and just drove around and different restaurants that people had recommended to me. And I checked out the Packers Heritage Trail. Well, first of all, I went to Lambeau Field. What's cool about Appleton is like the angle that you come into Green Bay is it's pretty normal. It's pretty simple. You're just driving down the interstate, and all of a sudden you see these three flashing lights. Three flashing lights. And I'm like, what is that giant structure with the three flashing lights? And then you see the big G on the side of it, and you're like, oh crap, that's Lambeau Field. It's the only thing in the area that tall, even remotely that tall. And it just towers above this residential neighborhood. It's unbelievable. And so I went over there and I checked it out, and I went to the Packers Pro Shop, and I was looking at the Vince Lombardi statue and the Curly Lambeau statue and checking out the Lombardi trophy that's there and just walking around. The Don Hudson Center is next door to Green, and it's just awesome. Just so cool. And then I went to the Packers Heritage Trail, which is more downtown Green Bay. And what it is basically a series of historical markers signifying the historical moments or landmarks in the Packers' history. And the birthplace of the Packers, Curly Lambeau's office, Vince Lombardi's home, like all these different places that you can go, and you start to understand like how it worked, how the Packers became what they were, and just how much of an impact they've had on their community. And so I knew a lot of the details, or I knew a lot of the like general information about the Packers and like their story, but I didn't know a lot of the details, and that was really cool to learn that. And so then fast forward to Saturday, I spent 8 hours at Lambeau Field on Saturday. 8 hours. Number one, I just wanted to be there because it was cool as hell. They got this big atrium. There's people constantly coming and going. And it's this cathedral to professional football. It's like a tabernacle for professional football. And so I get there early. I go back to the pro shop. I get all my shopping done. I get all the stuff that I wanted to get and got something for my cousin who's a big Packers fan. And then I go take my tour. It's a 2.5 hour tour. It's called the Legendary Tour. It was actually probably less than 2.5. It was probably 2:15, something along those lines. And we get to go into the club level. We get to go into the press box. We get to go up onto the roof of Lambeau Field. We're sitting down in the bleachers. We get to go down into the tunnel. We didn't get to go into the visitors' locker room that day because the Bengals equipment staff was already in there setting up. And then the Packers locker room was recently renovated. And so we didn't get to go inside there either, but we got to see these pictures of it and got to go inside the tunnels and just all this different stuff. And then we go out into the tunnel where the Packers come out out of Lambeau Field to play a game. And in this tunnel, they have like these projectors and these smoke machines and this music and these screens. And the gate is closed up until like the Packers come out, basically. And they're explaining what happens in that moment before the Packers take the field, and that was really cool. And then you walk out onto the field in this stadium that feels ginormous, also feels really small because they are like right on top of you. And by they, I mean the fans and the seats and the sections. It's just right there. You can reach out and touch the wall. Like the sidelines are relatively small. And this grass is perfectly manicured like it's Augusta National Golf Course. And it's got this sign there that says, "Welcome to Lambeau Field. Please enjoy this special place, but stay off the playing surface." And it was especially neat for us because as we're out there, the grounds crew was painting the field. And seeing that process, I've always thought is really cool. And so I got to get my picture taken while I'm standing on the field and on the Bengals sideline and looking up and seeing all these historical names and figures that have played for the Green Bay Packers. It is much like if you've ever been to Wrigley Field, you walk into it and you feel the weight of history and the importance of it when you're there. I thought it was the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. Like, I love football deeply, and the Packers love football deeply. Their fans love football deeply, and that place means a lot to them. It means a lot to the game of football. It means a lot to Packers fans. It means a lot to the city of Green Bay. And to think of all the great moments and the great players that have played on that field in front of those people, that was like goosebumps for me. Like, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And to get to experience that, bucket list item. Even if I didn't go to the game, bucket list item. So tour ends. I go back up to the atrium. They have this huge bar up there called 1919 Kitchen and Tap. I got some time to kill. I got nowhere to be. I go belly up to the bar, have some more cheese curds, more spotted cow, watch college football for a couple of hours. Then I finish that up and I go through the Packers Hall of Fame, which is astounding, unbelievable. So many cool things, so much. There's a story, there's a video and like a theater of the history of the Packers, and you go everything from Vince Lombardi's desk in his office, basically exactly as it was, is still in there. And the Super Bowl trophies and the Thorpe Awards and the NFC Championship trophies, all of it is just in there. And it was so neat and so cool to be able to experience that and to learn more about such a historic franchise. Cool as hell, man. Like the coolest freaking thing I've ever gotten to do. And so that ends, and I end up going back. I forget what all I did, to be honest. Like, I just kept going to these different restaurants that people told me to go to. I went to this place called Kroll's. Got a butter burger. It was awesome. I went to a place called Legend Larry's, which apparently has the best wings in Green Bay. I had a raspberry habanero sauce on my chicken wings. It was awesome. Met some great people. That's the thing, man. The people there were unbelievably nice. So kind. So kind. So Sunday rolls around. I know I'm getting long. This is a long episode. Sunday rolls around. And what I hadn't told you is a couple of weeks ago, probably a month or two ago, I had put out a post on Twitter asking for recommendations for Green Bay. And a buddy by the name of Glenn sees this, and he's buddies with Tony Pike. Glenn says to Tony, hey, give Austin my information. I'm a big Packer fan. He's from Milwaukee. I have a place in Green Bay. I'm like, oh, cool. All right, whatever. So I connect with Glenn. Just out of the goodness of his heart, he's like, here's a parking pass. You can park at my place. Come to my place before the game. We have brats. We'll tailgate, everything. I'm like, okay, sick. So Glenn lives in Titletown, which is the village basically across the street from Lambeau that the Packers build up. And it's like a fan center, and there's these beautiful homes there, and Glenn lives in one. And you walk into his place, and it's like a museum to Packer football, its own museum. And it was so cool to see that and experience that in the warmth of him. And he had some friends from Cincinnati that were over, and to just experience that for an hour or two. And so cool to see how, you know, they live and the love and the appreciation that they have for Packer football. Then I wanted to go get the full experience. So I walk around Lambeau Field, and I see the yard parties. I see the tailgate lots full of grills and brats and cheese curds and beer and smoke and flags. Go over to the Johnsonville tailgate area, which is this huge party area where the other games are going on, and then eventually walk inside Lambeau Field. And you walk in, and immediately on your left, you can buy a seat back. You can rent a seat back for $10 because the whole thing is bleachers. And just to walk into that moment and see the scoreboard on and the fans filing in and just feel like you're walking back in time into a historical moment. And then the game happens, and the Bengals are at least competitive in the second half, and it's a good game, and I can't complain. I mean, I didn't expect the Bengals to win, but I was just there to appreciate it. And, like, I have a hard time leaving. Like, when the game was over, like, I didn't want to leave. I just was kind of walking around and aimlessly looking at stuff and sneaking into other sections and just blown away by the place. I didn't want to leave it. It was so cool. And then had a very smooth travel experience on the way back. And got back into Cincinnati on Monday evening. And as we're talking right now, it's Wednesday night. Days are a little bit mixed up. Things are a little bit crazy, but that's where we're at. So Wednesday night means that the Bengals play Thursday night. Actually, 24 hours and 30 minutes from right now, the Bengals will be kicking off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What to expect in this game? I don't know. Pittsburgh is good, but they're not great. They have some weapons. Aaron Rodgers, I feel like, is slowly trending in the right direction, but their pass protection has been a bit of an issue. Defensively, though, they're still really good. They've got good playmakers like Myles Garrett and Alex Highsmith and Cam Hayward and Jalen Ramsey on the outside. Like, there's no shortage of really good players on the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 4-1 for a reason. They kind of they had a negative point differential up until this last game against Cleveland where they got back on the positive side of things. Altogether, Pittsburgh's good, but are they dominant? I don't think so. And I always believe that if you're playing a home Thursday night game, the expectation should be for you to win. And especially if you're playing a home Thursday night game against an AFC North opponent, the expectation should be for you to win. And so I'm always going to pick the home team in a Thursday night road game or in a Thursday night game. I'm always going to pick the home team. And I believe in what I saw in the second half from the Bengals offense will help make them better if they can at all replicate that against Pittsburgh. I think they're going to be okay. They slowly are trending in the right direction on offense. Defense, they still have a lot of things to figure out, but definitely not Cam Taylor Britt. DJ Turner is starting to shine. Dax Hill is playing okay. Shamar Stewart is back. He's going to play in this game. Now, the big question mark is Trey Hendrickson. He's officially listed as questionable due to a hip injury he suffered against the Packers. Don't know if he's going to be able to play. He's played in 42 consecutive games. It's tough to do that on a short week to get ready to go. Hopefully Trey plays. If nothing else, he maybe comes in on passing downs, on third downs. But either way, I don't think that this is a blowout. Most people have the Steelers as 7.5 to 8 point favorites. I don't think it's like that. I think the Bengals will cover that number. I think the Bengals have a chance to win this game. This is a pivotal game for this team. If you lose, the season is basically over. You would be 2-5, and Pittsburgh would be 5-1. They'd be cruising to an AFC North championship. You've got to win this game if you have any hope. If you want to get Burrow back, if you want to have a chance against the Jets and the Bears and want those games to mean something, and those games are at home following this one, you have to get it done against Pittsburgh. Defend your home turf, white Bengal night. It's going to be an incredible environment because I think the fans know and the players know that their backs are up against the wall. This is their last chance to be competitive in 2025. And if they are to fail, I think we see a bit of a hard reboot in the middle of the season. We go full on to the youth movement. We've already seen a lot of that already. There's no plan for Burrow to come back. Maybe even Jake Browning starts playing again. I don't know. But the season to me rests on this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Bengals can control the clock, if they can get off the field on defense, if they can play better special teams, they have a chance to win this game. Pittsburgh is good. They are not great. They are not dominant. I'm still not fully buying what they are selling. I think back to 2020 when the season changed on a Monday night football game against Pittsburgh. And really the story of the Bengals changed. The Bengals were no good that year. Burrow was hurt. He was out for the season. It was his rookie year. Pittsburgh was 11-1. They came in thinking they were going to smoke the Bengals, and the Bengals took it to them. That changed the trajectory of the franchise. Can you have a similar win that again changes the direction of the franchise with the youth movement finally showing up and getting some production out of these draft picks? Or does it turn in the other direction to where there's a reset coming for this franchise and you've got to get all the information possible between now and the end of the year so that you know exactly what you have going into a healthy Burrow season in 2026? It's really simple. It's win or go home. This is a playoff game for the Bengals against the Steelers. We'll talk more about it next week. We'll also preview the Bengals against the New York Jets, who are winless and coming to Cincinnati next week. We'll see if they're still winless after this week's action this week's action in the National Football League. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, you can hear me weekdays from 12 to 3 on ESPN 1530. I host a show called Cincy 360. You can also follow me on Twitter at Auty Elmore, AUTYELMORE. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, have fun, be safe, go Bucks.